any federal campaign in politics has to be built upon something in the states. If you really want to get a national campaign running, you need local organisers, local supporters, local funding, and local voices. And I think part of the reason the Liberals at this moment are so fundamentally cooked is because of the state of affairs in their Victorian and in their New South Wales divisions. New South Wales and Victoria together make up a majority of the Australian population. It's more than 15 million people living in those two states alone. And it's quite concerning for the Liberal Party that their state branches in those two states are effectively, on some level or another, not really functional. First of all, let me be clear, that is my opinion. This entire video going forward will just be my personal opinion and interpretation of the facts when it comes to the state of how these two divisions are currently functioning, or rather how they're not. And that is an important disclaimer to say. This is entirely opinion because we're going to start with the Victorian Liberal Party, and I don't want to get myself in trouble talking about it at all. When it comes to the Liberal Party of Victoria, my interpretation of events, looking at how it has operated over the last decade and how it has responded to this prolonged period of opposition, is that the party, by my measurement and in my opinion, is completely and fundamentally insane and is run by nutters who have no idea what they're doing. The Victorian Liberal Party has been in opposition since 2014, and in 2018 and 2022, they were handed enormous landslide defeats by the Dan Andrews government. And this was, at least in my assessment, primarily because the Liberal Party of Victoria is very much run by its Conservative faction, and in both elections, when they were trying to out Dan Andrews, they just ran very far to the right, particularly on social issues, and it went absolutely nowhere for them. So my understanding of events is this. 2018, Matthew Guy, cultural conservative, is running the Liberal Party. 2018 suffers one of the worst defeats ever for an opposition in a Victorian election, and he steps down. Then Michael O'Brien takes over the party, a more liberal-minded man. But in 2021, a leadership challenge brews, and Matthew Guy rolls him again and insists that he is the one that will finally figure things out and beat Daniel Andrews in 2022. He then loses in an equally horrifically appalling showing and an absolute landslide loss, and then he steps away. And that is when we get into John Pizzuto showing up. So John Pizzuto is finally a moderate option who is in the leadership chair. He is leader of the opposition, leader of the Liberal Party. The right-wing faction has just lost back-to-back elections with Matthew Guy. Surely he should be safe now. Well, no. John's leadership really came tumbling down because of how he handled a situation involving a Liberal member of the Legislative Council, Moira Deeming. Now, buckle in because this is a bit of a wild one. Moira Deeming is a very outspoken conservative and a very big critic, particularly of what she perceives as trans issues. And she attended an anti-trans rally outside the Victorian Parliament, which was also attended by a neo-Nazi group. And this group went up onto the steps of Parliament and started throwing up, you know, that salute. And afterwards, John Pizzuto made the claim that Moira Deeming was associating with Nazis and that she had to be kicked out of the Liberal Party. Now, Moira was kicked out of the Liberal Party, but she filed a lawsuit saying that she had no official affiliation whatsoever with those neo-Nazi groups, and that she had no idea that they would be at that rally, and that it was defamation that Pizzuto was claiming that she was a Nazi. John Pizzuto lost that court case and was found to have defamed Moira's reputation and was ordered to pay, on top of damages, also legal fees totaling in a bill of upwards of $2 million to be paid to Deeming. And during this whole legal battle saga, Pizzuto was rolled as leader by the Conservative faction of the Victorian Liberal Party, and Moira Deeming was re-accepted as a member of the Liberal Party. Here's the thing, John does not have the kind of money to pay back those legal fees and those damages. And there's a small issue when it comes to bankruptcy in Victoria. It makes you ineligible to serve in Parliament. So John Pizzuto at the moment is facing expulsion from the state Parliament over this lawsuit. And just to be clear, the Liberal Party is definitely going to lose that state by-election. It's almost guaranteed considering the narrow margin that John held it by anyway in the 2022 election. So the Victorian Liberal Party is currently suing itself into oblivion. And we currently have Liberal fundraisers and former Liberal premiers in Victoria trying to raise money for John so he doesn't get kicked out of Parliament. And that is where their energy is going. Millions of dollars in legal fees, tearing each other apart at a factional level. Over in New South Wales, if you missed it, last year, the funniest thing ever happened, and the New South Wales Liberal Party forgot to register candidates for the local elections. For, I think, about 16 different councils representing upwards of 160 candidates that were supposed to be running in elections, and for a lot of people in the state, there was just no Liberal candidate whatsoever in their local elections. This was seen as such a pathetic act of mismanagement that the New South Wales Liberal branch was basically put into administration, for lack of a better term, and is currently directly being overseen by the federal Liberal Party. This means that people in the New South Wales Liberals are not running their own campaigns, they aren't making their own decisions, they are being told what to do for a set amount of months by the federal Liberal Party. So these federal administrators that have come in to try and restructure the state party to ensure that it isn't as ineffective and terrible as it has been, have actually been launching quite a bit of controversy within New South Wales Liberals. Well, of course they would. But interestingly enough, they are recommending and seeking to implement constitutional changes to the New South Wales Liberal Party, which moderates in the state are kind of freaking out about. One enormous problem that the federal administrators have pointed out about the New South Wales Liberals is that party membership is declining like you would not believe. According to some sources via the Australian Financial Review, over 1,000 people, fee-paying regular members of the Liberal Party in New South Wales, have quit the party in just the last year. And according to the Australian Financial Review, the Liberal Party of New South Wales is down to about 6,000 members at the moment. They lost 1,000 in the last year. They lost 15% of their membership in 1 year. So what the federal administrators have recommended is that they make it much, much harder for the New South Wales Liberal Party to reject any new applicants. And that is very concerning to moderates in the New South Wales Liberals because there's a fundamental question. Who the fuck wants to be a Liberal right now? Because the Liberal Party of Australia has just been through one of the biggest electoral beatdowns in its history, if not the biggest. So who wants to join at the moment? It's a party that isn't appealing to women, it isn't appealing to moderate voters, it isn't appealing to diverse voters. So who are they going to get if they start lowering the membership requirements? I'll tell you who's probably going to try and get into the party if you lower the membership requirements. People who were rejected previously for being too fucking weird in their politics. Every far-right nutjob that got shut out of a campaign meeting. Every antisocial freak who didn't have the basic interpersonal skills to make it into the Liberal Party. And every misogynist who went way too far with it, even for the Liberals. So the New South Wales Liberals probably see this, justifiably, as potentially being one big act of branch stacking. By taking away the New South Wales relatively more moderate Liberal Party's ability to turn away members, suddenly there's not really going to be anything stopping the hard right from stacking every branch in the state with all the losers, the population of people that at this moment, for some reason, really want to join the Liberal Party. Now, of course, Dutton appointed this committee to oversee the New South Wales Liberals. So Susan Ley could change her mind, could remove it, scale it back, give power back to the state level operatives, but we haven't actually heard anything from her yet about how she's going to manage this differently than Dutton did. But that's the situation that we currently find ourselves in, looking at the Victorian and looking at the New South Wales Liberals. One half, the New South Wales half, was so incompetent at managing elections that it literally resulted in the party losing all its own power and being taken over by federal politicians. And that looks like it may be some backdoor route to try and make the New South Wales Liberals even more far right. So best of luck to them in that fight. And then on the other end of things, you have the Victorian Liberals. This is the state where Bob Menzies was from. This is literally where the Liberal Party was born. You have factions there going insane and literally suing each other into oblivion, taking up all the energy of the party over meaningless factional infighting, and somehow blowing what should be a polling lead over the state Labour Party, which is incredibly unpopular, but still finding a way to screw it up. Anyway, thank you for listening to that, now that that's out of the way. On a final note, I think that the Victorian and New South Wales branches do a very good job of showing us what is wrong with the Liberal Party more broadly. And look, the Liberals probably aren't going to learn anything from that anytime soon, but Susan, if you are listening and you still believe in numerology, which is the reason that you added another S to your name, maybe, for the time being, it's time to add another I to Liberal Party. One for incompetence and one for insanity.